All right, what's happening, everybody? It is Wednesday, November. I'm already jumping ahead of myself. Wednesday, October 29th, and the year is still 2014, right? I'm getting a little confused with my dates. Welcome to our little YouTube chat. We'll give everybody a few minutes to jump in, and then we'll get this party started. If somebody could if somebody could test the chat thing just to make sure it's working, that would be fantastic. And then I'm going to bring up the little chat window on here because I just remembered it only works on this thing. So the year is still 2014, right? I'm getting a little confusing. And it looks like we have about our standard 30-second delay. So you guys can all see me okay? Everything looks good. Let's see if I can make this chat window a little bigger, or is it going to make it extra small? No, extra small tonight. Well, shit. We'll work with it. We'll work with it. We'll work with it. Okay, guys, we'll give, what is it? We'll give everybody 2 more minutes and we'll get going. The great thing about this one is it records automatically, so I don't even have to worry about it. This one's more idiot-proof, which is good for me than the other one was. I need one piece of software that does everything. I'm sure there probably is one piece of software that does everything, but YouTube's kind of fun. It just sounds so cool. Sounds like I'm on TV. Where's everybody from? I think we'll probably have a good group tonight. Oh, we always have a good group. And you guys, while we're waiting for everybody to log in, just a couple house cleaning things. For those of you who have never been here before, the way I run these chats is I will talk for about 20 to 25 minutes on the topic of the evening. After that, we'll open it up for Q&A. You guys can ask me questions about the specific topic. You can ask me general questions. I encourage you all to take notes as I'm talking. That way, when things pop up, when you get ideas that come up, whatever that is, you have something to reference back to, okay? And again, one question you have at one point might need to lead to another question. One of the last chats we had, I think actually the last 2 chats we had some phenomenal discussion afterwards. And it was because you all put so much effort into the questions. So I encourage you guys to come up with questions. With that being said, once the chat starts, please, please, please do not type in the little sidebar. I can get easily distracted. I have that window going in my peripheral just because it's the way the software works and how I know how to do it. And so I can get really distracted with it. Hold your questions till the end. Take notes. I will say, okay, I'm done. Please put your questions up, and then you guys can ask questions as fast as your little fingers can type. Okay? Deal? Good. Everybody's in agreement. I'm assuming everybody's hands goes up. And we will give everybody 1 more minute, and then we'll go. It looks like we got a pretty good international group here as well as in the States. I see Canada, I see New Zealand, I see quite a few of the States. I see the Philippines. Oh, that's awesome. So we got South America or Africa here tonight. We'll get all the continents unless somebody's over in Antarctica, and that would be really cool. Didn't we have, I think one of the last chats we had, didn't we have we had 5, or did we hit all 6 continents? I can't remember. All right, guys, let's get this going. So tonight's topic is how to avoid stagnation so that you can pursue the life of your dreams. Tonight's YouTube chat brought to you by Zero Limits. No, just kidding. Okay, how to avoid stagnation so you can pursue the life of your dreams. First things first with this. Stagnation is something that we all run the risk of facing at some point in our life. A lot of times we don't call it stagnation. We'll usually use language like, I'm stuck, I feel trapped, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, things like that. Okay, so stuck, stagnation, the language might be different, but the idea behind it is all the same, right? We want to make a change, we want to get something different, but we're not sure how to. We have this life that we want to create. We have this life we want to live. We have a path that we have an idea of where we want to go, but we can't get past the hurdles to get there. And so we want to try to figure out how to avoid that. First and most important step, and if you guys see me look down, it's just I have a couple notes here to keep me on track. First and most important thing is you have to make a shift in your mindset. And what that shift is you have to make a shift from focusing on stagnation to focusing on moving forward. Because here's the thing, when our brain in its infinite wisdom thinks in pictures. Okay, so our brain thinks in pictures. And so this is the pink elephant example. You have to think about what not to think about it, right? So if I tell you to not think about a pink elephant, you have to think about the pink elephant to not think about the pink elephant. Make sense? Because when I say pink elephant, your brain immediately gets a picture of pink elephant. So if I'm telling my brain I want to avoid stagnation, well, what I'm getting a picture of in my mind is stagnation, which means what I'm focusing on in my mind and in my unconscious mind is stagnation. This is where most people will get stuck or get stagnant because they're so focused on stagnation, even though they're trying to problem solve and figure out how the hell do I get away from this, they're actually sending pictures to the unconscious mind of stagnation. So our brain has no incentive to come up with solutions because we're focused on it. And so what it's producing is stagnation. And the brain thinks, well, I'm doing what he wants or she wants. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is it's not doing what we really want on a conscious level, but it is on an unconscious level. So what we have to do consciously is make the shift of what we're focusing on. So instead of stagnation, we need to focus on moving forward. We need to focus on forward momentum. We need to focus on progress. We need to focus on that. So the question to ask ourselves is not how do I avoid stagnation? The question to ask ourselves is how do I keep moving forward? The question to ask ourselves is what do I need to do to move forward? Because then what we're doing is we're sending a picture in our mind of forward moving. How do I keep this forward momentum going? Okay, that's a really powerful one because now we have an idea in our mind of what forward momentum looks like. If I ask you guys how do you avoid stagnation, all of you have an image of what being stagnant or being stuck is like for you. For me, when I think of stagnant, I hear the word stagnant, I think of that nasty water that hangs around and doesn't go anywhere. But if I say something like, how do I keep moving forward? How do I keep the momentum going? What can I do to keep my momentum going? I have an idea. I have a picture in my mind of what I look like when I have momentum. I have a picture in my mind that looks like what it looks like when I'm making forward progress. Okay, does that make sense? So the first thing you have to do is you have to shift your mindset. Get rid of the concept of stagnation, replace it with forward. Something forward progressing, okay? Next, after that, so we've made the shift in our mind. We're completely changing what we're focusing on. We're completely changing on what we're going after. We have to decide what our dream life consists of, okay? Because a phrase like dream life is really ambiguous, right? It sounds like it'd be something that's just self-explanatory, but it's not because everybody has a different concept of what dream life is. Where people will get stuck is they will define their dream life based off of somebody else's dream life. This is a no-no because you cannot live somebody else's life. But what will happen is you'll get frustrated because you're not satisfied and fulfilled living somebody else's life, which will lead to, guess what? Stagnation, getting stuck. So you need to get clear on what your dream life consists of. You have to get really, really clear on that. For some people, that might be being married. For some people, that might be having kids. For some people, it might be having a job where you make $50,000 a year. For some people, it might be having a job where you make $50 million bazillion a year. For some people, it might be owning a home. For some people, it might be owning multiple pieces of property. For some Well, I think I'm back now. You guys, pardon the interruption. Let me just take a moment to recompose myself. My internet suddenly shut down. So first. Okay, so let's give this 1 second to get caught back up. And let me make sure this starts working. Okay, there we go. Okay, so perfect example. As I was saying, we have to determine what our own dream life is. And for me, in my dream life, I might live a dream life where my internet never acts up in the middle of a live event. For other people, they might like the excitement of their internet acting up in a live event. And if I am living my life, if I'm composing my dream life where I'm okay with that, it's going to leave me feeling very unhappy and unfulfilled when it happens, right? I don't want my internet to not work in a live event. That's not a good thing. It gets me panicked. I think, oh, shit, damn hell. I'm here talking and I'm trying to do this cool thing and trying to make a point, and all of a sudden, poof, there it goes. So hopefully you guys didn't miss too much of that. But I think you get my point where it's crucial for us to get a clarity on what our dream life is. That's not going to be going to People magazine or whatever magazines in the line at the grocery store and looking what some celebrity's doing and saying, that's the life I want. If it is, if there's similarities to it, specify what that is. Don't just say, I want Brad Pitt's life. Because we don't really know what goes into Brad Pitt's life. We don't really know what that life looks like. We know what we read in the newspaper, but we're not quite clear what that is. Okay? So identify what your dream life is for you. Because when you do and you have an understanding of that, it's going to give you a lot more motivation to go forward with it, to go after it, to keep that forward progress with it. When you don't, it's really easy to get stagnant, because if we say, I want Brad Pitt's life, what usually follows that? I want Brad Pitt's life. And then after we get Brad Pitt's life, then what's the next thing that comes after that? I want Brad Pitt's life. I don't know how to get that life, right? I want Brad Pitt's life, but then I don't know how to get that life. And when we don't get that life, it can be very frustrating. It can be very demotivating. It can be all sorts of things, right? And so we get frustrated because we don't know how to achieve it. And when we don't know how to achieve something, what do? We say, oh, well, I'll give up. I'm stuck on whatever that is. And then we become stagnant. So you understand why it's so important that we get clear on what our dream life is. Okay? So that's part 2. Part 1 is you have to shift your focus away from focusing on stagnation and focus on moving forward. Part 2 is get clear on what your dream life is. Define your unique dream life. Is it kids? How many? Is it family? What's that look like? Is it travel? To where? How often? Is it health? What's that look like? Job? What's that look like? Okay, those types of things. Next, you have to set goals, you guys. You have to set goals. And I know it's something that everybody's heard more than once, but it's so true. We got to set goals. We got to give ourselves something to work for. You know, human beings, we're meant to move forward. We're meant to move towards something. You think about it, biologically, we are motivated to have goals. What are the 4 F's? Feeding, fighting, fleeing, and you know what? I'll give you a hint. It starts with an F. It has an uck in it and ends in ing. Okay, and those are all things that we're more motivated to do. We're motivated to move towards. Imagine if you weren't motivated by hunger. Would you really ever want to eat as much or as often? No. We're biologically designed to have things that motivate us, to have things to move towards, to go after. So it makes sense that we set goals for things. So we have things that honor our biology. We have things that we're moving towards, going after. And so for you, when you figure out what that dream life is, what your dream life looks like, you need to set little goals for each of them. And big goals too. If your goal is to own your own business, okay, when? What's that look like? And what's the timeline for it? Set goals for it. Okay, by the end of the year, I need to have made 10 contacts that are going to be in a related field. By February, I need to have taken the first steps to do X, Y, and Z. By April, I'm going to have done A, B, and C. Okay? So you have to get those goals and to put them in place. If you're doing a health one, we just finished the 28-day flat belly challenge. And one of the things we did was we did goal setting. We had people set goals at the beginning of it. Over the beginning and what they wanted to try to accomplish over 28 days. And the reason is it gives them something to focus on. It gives them something to move towards. It's something to help them with forward progress, forward momentum, right? So if they have this goal in line, they can look for it, aim for it, and then they figure out what does it take each day. So part of the program is set up with, you have this goal, and if you do these things each day, you exercise, you follow this exercise program, you eat like this nutrition program says, guess what? You're going to help, it's going to put you on a path to achieve your goals. And then guess what? A lot of the people who followed the program exactly as it was, achieved their goal, blew past their goal, or have come so close to their goal that they just have a little bit more work to do to get there. And those are the people, what they did is they just followed the plan. A goal is crucial because once you have a goal, you can put a plan in place to make that goal a reality. Okay, a goal without a plan is like going on a road trip without a map if you're trying to go to a specific place. You just don't know which way to go. Imagine if we didn't have signs with east, west, or anything like that. We just got on the road and said, okay, I want to go to some random town and wherever. Could we get there? Yeah, we might. But are we going to get there as efficiently as we could? No, probably not. A goal with a plan is like your GPS. Pull up your Google Maps. Oh, look at step by step, real time. Oh, I took a wrong turn. Update. Turn around, go this way. Right? Google Maps will hound you so much that you get annoyed with them and just say, shut up, I know where I'm going. But it's great because it's ultimate accountability. So once you have a goal, once you have a plan in place, now you know where to go. Now you know what to do. And guys, lastly and most importantly, you have all these things. So you've made the shift in your mindset. You're no longer focused on being stuck or stagnant. You're focusing on moving forward. You've gotten clear on what your dream life is. You know what that looks like for you. You know what the unique things are for you that's going to make your life that dream life. You got some goals in line. You know what you want. You know what you're working towards. You know why you're working towards it. You got to take action on it. You have to take action on it. Because otherwise, it's just, there's nothing with it. It's a perfect example. So those of you who are watching this and are learning and are taking notes as I'm talking, you're sitting there and you're nodding, oh yeah, this is really good. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, I could totally use this. You got to do something right after to put it into place, because otherwise, all this is a nice little rah-rah speech. You guys get to hear me go, oh, go, 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 you, but then you never go, go, go. Okay? You never go, go, go. You have to go, go, go to make these things happen. You have to go, go, go to put them into reality, to make them real. Okay? So the greatest thing that you can do for yourself as soon as we hang up on here, as soon as we're done, is take an action about something. Okay? If you know your dream life consists of getting in amazing shape, make a phone call to a gym. Call a local personal trainer. Call your friend that you've been talking about doing exercises together for so long and get them going. Make a plan. If your dream life is to consist of being debt-free, sit down as soon as we're done. Get out a piece of paper. Write down all your debt. And then start looking at it and making a plan. Okay, what do I need to do to pay this off? What do I need to do to pay this off? What's my budget going to be to make this happen? Okay, you got to put the action. Don't think about it. You got to do it. Don't think about it. Put it into practice. Take all the stuff up in here, all the ideas, all the thoughts, whatever it is, and put them on paper. Make a plan, and then put action in. What do I need to do? How am I going to do this? Okay? Put action items next to each of these things. What do I need to do? When do I need to do this by? Because action is going to happen. Everything follows the motions that you take. If you take no motion, if you don't move, guess where you are? You're stagnant and stuck. But if you're moving forward, you're taking action, guess what's going to happen? You'll never find yourself stagnant. You'll never find yourself stuck. You might find yourself at a crossroads from time to time where you have to make some decisions, but that's what life's about, right? It's about making decisions. It's about choosing paths. It doesn't mean one path might be right or wrong, because there's going to be an opportunity to learn and grow on either path. The only wrong thing that could happen in that scenario is when you come to that crossroad, you do nothing and you sit there. Because your destiny lies on either side. Right? Your destiny lies down either path, and when you go down one path, it doesn't mean it's not going to fork again and again and again. Most of us have experienced, I know I have, but most of us have experienced in life multiple forks in the road. And you guys, guess what? It's not going to stop. What does stop is your quality of life, your joy of life, your fulfillment of life, your ability to live life, that dream life that you want, if you stop and you just sit there. Because what happens? You sit there and you stare at the forks and trying to decide, what should I do? Which way should I go? And then you sit there and watch people passing you by. They're going on, they're taking their life, they're taking the action, they're making things happen, they're living their life, and you're still sitting there. And so the world is spinning around and around and around, and people are passing you by, and guess what? You're still sitting there. That's stagnation. And what will happen? You're going to grow old, You're going to grow tired. You're going to go frustrated. You're going to go pissed off. All these things. Because you see people go on living and you're just there surviving. So when you find yourself in that fork in the road, just choose a path. Choose a path. Go forward. Take action. And you know, I promise you this. If you're doing these steps, if you're applying all the things that we just talked about now, when you get at the fork in the road, you're going to know which one you're going to take because you're going to be able to recognize which one's in line with your dream life. Which one's in line with your dream life. And if you make a mistake and you go down the path that you didn't want to go to first, don't worry. It's just meant to be. It's an opportunity to learn. And so then when you come to the next fork, you're going to be able to get right in alignment. You're going to probably be further along than you would have been before because you're going to come onto this path with all the wisdom you had from the other one. Don't sit at the fork. Take action and go past it. Okay, so let me summarize real quick, and then we'll get to questions. To avoid stagnation, so you can live your dream life, first thing you have to do is you have to shift your focus. You're not focusing on stagnant because we don't want to do that because when we do, we're focusing on how to not be stagnant. What we're telling our brain is stagnant, 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 stagnant. Try to say that 5 times fast. It's a tongue tire. It's a tongue twister. And you're going to get stagnation. You got to focus instead on moving forward. Focus instead on forward momentum. How do you keep the momentum going? Once you do that, you got to get clear on what your dream life is. Be specific to you. Don't go in the magazine and say, I want Brad Pitt's dream life. We don't know what Brad Pitt's life is like. We only can make an assumptions about it based off of what's been told in the newspaper or the magazine. And we all know that everything's in the paper and the newspaper and magazines on the internet is truth, right? That's sarcasm if you didn't get it. Make it clear for yourself. Get a clear understanding of what your dream life looks like. Okay, what's your dream life look like? Once you get a clarity on that, you got to set goals. Set goals that are going to help you accomplish each of those things, and put a plan in place to get there. I give you an example of the flat belly challenge that just happened. We had a 28-day challenge. People set a goal before the challenge, and then they had a plan in place. Eat this food, do these exercises, this amount of time, you are going to be on the path to achieve your goal. Okay, so have that map. Remember, having a goal, having a plan is like your GPS. It's like Google Maps. Without it, it's just, you might as well put the blindfold on and hope to God that you don't run into anybody, okay? And lastly, you got to take action. You have to put action behind these things. You can't just sit there and hope it falls in your lap. It doesn't happen that way. Even the people that get lucky and win the lottery, they still have to take the action to go down and buy the ticket. Think about that. A lot of people sit around in life and they just wait and hope that they're going to win the lottery. That they're going to win the lottery of life and poof, their dream life is going to appear. Even the people who win the lottery take the action to go buy the ticket. No lotto is won unless the action is taken to buy the ticket. If you guys want to win the lottery of your life, you got to take the action and buy the ticket. Your ticket is going to be whatever you make of it. Okay, it's your whatever you decide to make it. You get to write your own ticket. That's the great thing. You don't have to put it to chance. The odds of winning the lottery are like 1 in 42 million. The odds of living life are 50-50 for you. Can't get better odds than that. It's probably even better than that. I don't just know how to make the odds, but 50-50. 50% means you're going to do it because you decided to do it. 50% you don't because you decided to don't. If you decide to do it, you're going to do it, you guys. If you don't, you're going to sit at that crossroads and watch everybody go by. And you're going to sit there and think, wow, I sure wish I could do that. You can't. You absolutely can't. Don't let it go by. You can't. Okay? That's what I got for you guys. Questions? I will sit here silently and patiently for a minute while the delay gets caught up, and then you guys can start typing your questions. And again, you guys, I really apologize about this internet thing. Technology, not part of my dream life. I thank you all for being patient and understanding. Okay, shut up. Psh, questions? Told you this before, you always have the right chat subject for me at the right time. I'm writing, but started to stagnate. I need this little kickstart to get decisive and get to my goal. Awesome. I'm stoked this helps. So remember, action, 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 action. And I always have the right chat because I actually have a 900 number as a side job. There was Miss Cleo, and I like to say I'm Mr. Cleo. But not married at all. I just like the name, and I like the funky Jamaican accent. So if you Google Mr. Cleo, you're going to see my name pop up. Not really. That was my bad joke. But I'm glad that you found value in it, and please, please, put action behind it. Put action behind it because you can really make it happen. I'm 15, I'm toned skinny, but I'm trying to get bigger. My brother's 6'5" and buff. My goal is to be like him. How do I find motivation to go 3 times a week? I just got here, by the way. How do you find motivation to go? You got to decide what you want, man. You have to decide what you want. If you're a brother and you look up to him and you want to be like him, you got to start motivating yourself to be like him. You're never going to be like somebody if you're not doing what they're doing. If you want to be like somebody, you got to do what they do to be like them, right? It makes sense. If you want to eat apples, you need to go to the store and eat apples. If you want to eat apples and you go and buy avocados, you're not really going to get the apple, right? So you have to emulate that what you want. If you want to be motivated, you want to find the motivation to be more like him, you have to decide why you really want it. Why do you really want to be like him? And focus on that. Why do you really want to be not toned? And why do you want to really be not skinny? Why do you want to be buffer or stronger or whatever it is for you? What's the bigger reason why for you? Is it because you want to look good with your shirt off? Is it because you want to have more confidence? Whatever is most emotionally stirring to you, you got to take that, you got to hold on to it, you got to focus on it. Okay, you got to focus on it. And you have to make the decision for yourself that getting to the gym is more important than sleep or whatever the hell else it is that you use as an excuse. Okay, great question. And you guys, that applies for anybody, not just for getting buffer. It applies for weight loss. It applies for a job, a career, a relationship, anything. What's the best way to quiet your mind when you have 1,000 thoughts going on at the same time? You could be blunt and just say, shut the fuck up. You know, that's one approach. And I say that half jokingly, but mostly seriously. I mean it. Those little voices that are going on inside our head, they go on because we give them power, we acknowledge them. Literally, just say it out loud. You can say it in your head or scream it out loud. Shut the fuck up. Enough. I get it. Quiet. Done with you. What will happen is when you do that, it's going to make you start to laugh because you're going to think of, oh, how silly is it that I'm sitting here talking out loud, yelling, shut the fuck up at myself. That will shut those voices up. Well, the fastest way to shut a voice up is to laugh. So find something funny to focus on because what happens is when we're laughing, it's such a huge physiological movement. We have so many muscles contracted that our brain has to allocate most of its resources to contracting the muscles, giggling, that whole response. So it can't have those resources available to give fuel to all those voices. So put humor to those voices. If you have 1,000 thoughts, you only want to think of a few of them, find humor. Go on YouTube, put South Park on, whatever it takes, get a good giggle in. Is a bucket list or a life experience list like a goal sheet? Because I have 143 life experiences I want to do. Yeah, you know, it's similar. It's very similar. And so what I would encourage you to do with that is, again, make some specifics about it. So if you have these experiences you want to do, organize them in groups, categories, whatever it is, and then put some actionable items that'll move you towards it. If one of your experiences you want to do is to write a book. Okay, what do you need to do to start that process? What steps do you need to take to start that process? So you want to have the list. That's great. That's a huge start. Now add in the action items with it. Great question. How are you? I'm swell. How are you? I'm a little warm. It gets warm when I do these chats. Have you always been an active person? If the answer is no, at which point in your life you began to be active? What encouragement would encourage you to be like this? Great question. So I definitely played sports as a kid. But when I got to about 4th, 5th grade, I was really chunky, extremely self-conscious, extremely self-conscious. I mean, in 5th grade, I was the only kid in my 5th grade class that I was the last place around the track for the mile, except for one girl who was considerably shorter than me, had short legs. God bless her. But to give you an idea, my best childhood friend had severe asthma. He beat me by a couple minutes. I was one of the only boys during the physical fitness thing that had to hang Why? Because I couldn't do a pull-up. And then when I got to high school, I stopped doing sports altogether because I was so shy, I was so insecure that I didn't want to put myself out there. I was too afraid of people making fun of me, all those things. So I was pretty inactive. It wasn't until I got to college that really changed. And the reason it changed was because when I got to college, I had a growth spurt. So I was the same height I am now, but I only weighed about 165 pounds. To give you guys an idea, I weigh closer to 220-ish now. And when I got to college, I was a skinny kid. What happened was I was so shy, so insecure, I had no social skills. And I'm giving you guys kind of the abbreviated version. I started partying a bunch. The only way I could really interact with people was if I was drinking. I got so drunk one night that I ended up throwing up all over the place. Don't remember any of this. I threw up all over myself, all over the floor, spent 3 hours hovered over the toilet. And you guys know what public bathrooms are like. Well, my face was planted to one of them. And on top of that all, my grades had dropped. I had never gotten a bad grade really in high school. My first quarter grades at Santa Barbara were a 113 GPA, which is an F and 2 C minuses. I got this nice letter from the school that says, "Dear Mr. Brisendine, you are basically fucking up our curve here, and you're going to bring our standing down." So, I mean, they worded it much more nicely in this, but this is kind of what the gist of it was. If you can't get your grades together, we're going to send you out of here. You have one chance. You have one quarter to get caught up. I had a moment about a week after that. I was walking. So because of my little stunt in the dorms, I got put on probation from the dorms. I was put on disqualification from the school. And I was walking to the bathroom. Now, I was really, really shy, right? So I had no social skills. There's no way I was going to go talk to a girl. To try to get a girl's attention before I'd go to the bathroom, I'd sit there and do a bunch of push-ups and a bunch of sit-ups, and then I'd walk down the hall with just in my towel because I was skinny, so you could kind of see some abs. And this one night, I'd done my little routine. I was pumped up, or at least I thought. I walk into the bathroom. I'm sitting there and getting ready to brush my teeth. I start brushing my teeth, and I look in the mirror, and I stop. And it was this moment of, whoa, I don't recognize the person staring back at me. Because this skinny kid who I thought I was looking back at him, and I didn't have really any life in my eyes. I had these dark circles under them, and I'd started to get a beer belly. So what little bit of muscles that you could see were faded away, and they're being covered with a layer of fat. And I remember looking at myself there and thinking, what am I doing? I worked so hard to get my grades good in high school, to be able to get my shot, get away from where I grew up, and get myself a shot at a life beyond just where I was. I didn't like where I grew up. I didn't like it at all. I didn't fit in. I didn't vibe with it or anything like that. And here I am. I'm going to throw it all away. Why? Because I'm too shy. I'm too scared. And what I realized in that moment too is I don't quit. I hate quitting. I will not quit on anything. But if I got kicked out, that's not me quitting. I was so scared. I was so shy. I was so self-conscious that I was willing to get myself kicked out to go back to what was comfortable and familiar, even though I hated it, because I was too terrified to face my own insecurities to try to go after what I wanted. And I knew deep down that wasn't what I wanted. So I made a deal with myself. I said, okay, this is the deal. This quarter, I'm going to really focus on getting my grades up because I can't get kicked out of school. As soon as my grades are up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working out. And I did the same thing I told you guys. I had to make some rules. I had to make some guidelines for myself to keep myself accountable. So I got my grades up. I got a 3.38 GPA at the end of that quarter. Got put off a disqualification. I was still on probation, but I got some wiggle room. And then the first day of spring quarter, my freshman year, I started working out. And I made myself go to the gym. And every time I thought about quitting, every time I thought about not going, I just kept telling myself, if I don't go, I'm going to end up back where I grew up. If I don't go, I'm going to end up being that person I don't want to be. If I don't go, I'm going to end up being, I just tell myself anything to get there. And what happened is as my body started to change, as I physically started to feel better about myself, mentally and emotionally, I started to feel better about myself. I started accepting myself more. For the first time in my life, I was really loving myself. And once I got to that place and I realized what exercise was giving to me, I was hooked. I was hooked. I hope that kind of answers it. I'm a very positive person, but I am ill. When people hear that, they tell me how sorry they are for me. I don't know how to react to that. Can you give me some advice on how to deal with that? It depends. If you're not sorry for yourself, just say, I appreciate that, but you don't have to be. I'm grateful because of this. I'm grateful because of that. You only have to take it how you want to take it. So you can look at your illness as a curse, or you can look at it as a gift. There is a gift in it. It's just for you to define it. There's a curse in it too, if you want to focus on that. You know, and I can relate. I've gone through several health problems the last few years, and they've been hard, and I've lost a lot of my life and parts of my life and people in my life because of it. But I've also gained a lot too. And I'm very grateful for the stuff I've gained, and I really, really try my hardest to focus on that. And I don't really talk about it with a lot of people because I don't want to necessarily get pity. I want to get for myself, I want to get strength to overcome and to focus on that better part. The gift of it is I really can appreciate being able to move. I can really appreciate a lot of things. I'm able to appreciate certain people more. And I'm able to relate to people more who are going through painful experiences. You know, to be able to have physical challenges, I can really relate to a different part of humanity that I wasn't necessarily able to relate to before. So you gotta look at it like that. You have to decide what it means to you, and then you can reciprocate that to other people. What if you were held back by fear from completing your goals? So the question is, what if you were held back by fear from completing your goals? I would be highly encouraged to get fearful of what happens if you do not complete your goals. I would encourage you to focus on what your life is going to be like if you don't complete your goals. If you have goals and you're not getting them done, and you're probably not happy about that, look at your life a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, and the pain you're feeling now by not completing them, multiply that by a factor of 50. Because you're going to be the person sitting at that crossroad, everybody's going by, and you're still sitting there. Get terrified of that, and that will help motivate you to get to your goals. Mr. Cleo. Have you ever read the lyrics to The River by Garth Brooks? It reminds me of exactly what you talked about tonight. He refers to dreams like a river. It's awesome. I have not read the lyrics, but I've sung the song many a times out loud and to myself. When the cost of living is so high, how does one avoid being stagnant when they see their dream and desperately want it, but what is realistic is that they will financially never be able to make it happen? How can we stop being stagnant and live our dream on a strict and limited budget? I see my dream, but I use all my extra funds I have for the benefit of my children. So first question I would ask is, the cost of living is so high. I would say compared to what? Okay, because the cost of living is so high compared to what? There's going to be, we have to put perspective on it. Is it compared to small town wherever, or is it compared to some place like Dubai where the cost of living is extremely high? The next thing I hear is, I so desperately want my dream, but what is realistic is it's never going to be able to make it happen. So that to me tells me that you're not fully committed to your dream, because if somebody's fully committed to their dream, they don't focus on how they're not going to be able to make it happen, because this goes right back to what we were talking about before. Your focus is on not being able to make it happen. Your focus is on, my dream's not realistic. My dream's not realistic. Because part of a dream is, it may not seem realistic, but it's what you want. It's something that you're committed to going after. And fuck tradition, fuck the consequences, fuck what everybody else says. It's your dream, go after it, right? The whole world, this stuff we're doing, this technology we're interacting on, was somebody's dream once. And once upon a time, the idea of this was ridiculous. I just watched the first Die Hard the other day. This should be, I think Die Hard should be, as a side note, I think Die Hard should be required viewing for every single person in the world, because it's just a wonderful movie. And there's a scene in the movie where the limo driver picks Bruce Willis up from the airport, and he's in there. He's like, oh man, sit back. We got the latest technology in here. We got CDs, we got 8-track, we got VHS, we got CD. When was the last time you saw a VHS? Okay, who even gets CDs really anymore, right? And if you would have said to them, well, okay, in a few years, we're going to be able to talk to each other over the internet, and we're going to have this audience of people from all over the world like that, they'd be like, what? VHS, this is so cool, right? But it was somebody's dream. And I'm sure there's a ton of people that told me, oh, it can't happen, it can't happen. The thing about a dream is it doesn't happen unless you believe in it. If you're not going to believe in it, you're right. You're absolutely right. It will never, ever happen. So the way to make it happen is you have to change your belief. if you really want the dream, you have to change your belief, because once you change your belief and you start to focus on it will happen, it can happen, you're going to start to allow yourself to figure out how to make it happen. But when your focus is completely on it's impossible, it's not going to happen, you're absolutely right. You're going to get that. This goes back to what we started with. If you're focusing on stagnation, guess what? You're going to get stagnation. But if you're focused on forward momentum, you're going to be able to find a way. Great question. I think I know where I am going, but procrastination is my biggest stagnation. How do I get out of this bad habit? The F-bombs are awesome. I would do that. You know, I usually try to keep it not too many F-bombs on here, but for some reason I'm more fired up than that. I think the internet going down kind of set the fuse, and I try to limit it to maybe 1 or 2 F-bombs a chat, and I think I've probably used 8 or maybe even double digits by now. Hopefully YouTube doesn't censor. So again, what I suggest is focus on what procrastination costs you. You focus on what procrastination costs you. You need to get to a painful place with it, because when it's just in the moment, it's kind of like, whatever. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it later. But go back in your life, revisit all the times you procrastinated, and look at how much it's cost you, how much you missed out on because of it. Look at how far you have not come because you're procrastinating. Get really upset, really fired up about that, and that's going to help you find the motivation. How do you get people to stop looking at you like you're dying just because you have medical issues? Drives me nuts. It's a great question. You start acting like you're thriving. People are going to look at you like you're dying because that's going to be our perception of them. We don't really know that. You know, we're interpreting their looks as oh, they're looking at me like I'm dying. They're looking at me as I'm broken. But typically, we're only going to interpret that if we see ourselves as dying, if we see ourselves as being broken. Okay, when I first started having some of my medical issues pop up, and I told a couple friends like that, they were telling me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And then every time those people looked at me, I thought, "Oh man, they're taking pity on me." But then I started sharing my story with some other people, and I said it a different way, and I said it in a different tone and everything else, and they said, "Wow, that's really inspiring. It's really amazing that you're able to do that." And I'm like, "Wow," they look at me as an inspiration. But it was because I was being inspiring when I told it, because I wasn't being a victim. And when the other people, when I was telling them I was being a victim, it's like, "Oh man, what was me?" Blah 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 blah. And I got to the response I got. So if they're seeing us as dying, if we're interpreting them as, if we are interpreting the person as seeing us as dying, as seeing us as broken, our interpretation is a reflection of how we see ourselves. So you got to focus on how you see yourself, and then you'll shift what you experience. Great question. How do you get over that fear that holds you back? Again, you got to focus on what that fear costs you. It costs you to stay back. It costs you to stay back. You got to focus on that. Look at your life 5 years from now and what that life looks like with that fear holding you back, and get terrified of that. If you want to be scared of something, be scared of staying at that crossroad forever. I feel as if I'm stagnant in my career because my mom, the only family I have in California, and I share a close relationship. I'm ready to relocate, progress in my career, but I know she's not ready. Advice. You have to, again, this goes back to your dream life. Are you going to live your life for your mom, or are you going to live your life for you? And what does your mom want you to do? Does your mom want you to live your life for her, or does she want you to live your life for you? I'm willing to bet that your mom probably had you not because she wanted to raise somebody who will live her life for her. She probably raised you because she wanted to see you go out and be happy and thrive and be full of life. And if you're not doing that, you got to make a change. You have to decide that it's your dream life, and you want to make that shift. If you're living your life for your mom, you're going to always run the roadblocks. You're always going to run the challenges. And that goes for everybody. You got to decide that your life is important enough to make the decision to live it for yourself. Great question. Do you have any techniques to how to work with the subconscious mind? I have many. You know, just an easy one is, again, when somebody was talking about the voices earlier, they asked about all the voices, and I was saying, do something to make you laugh. That is working with your subconscious mind right there. And you guys, subconscious and unconscious, they're interchangeable. Different fields of psychology will call it subconscious mind. Different fields of psychology will call it unconscious mind. But they're one and the same. So if you see the language change, it's referring to the same thing. So doing stuff to laugh, it's training your brain. Shifting the focus, what we talked about with focusing on, not focusing on stagnation, but focusing on moving forward, that's a huge unconscious mind shift. How old are you? You'll have to do some research for that. It's a top secret. It's right up there with who shot JFK and are there aliens that visited Roswell. And for those of you guys who don't live in USA and don't know that, Roswell, New Mexico is supposedly where we have all of our alien activity. And that's supposedly where the government has secret alien bases where they're doing experiments. So my age is guarded at Roswell under maximum security right there with the aliens. What made you decide to be a motivational speaker and try to help others? Try to help others. I just said others like I was from some gangster, good fellow, others. What made you help others better their lives? Ever since I was a little kid, I knew I was put on this earth for a reason. I knew it was to help people. And it's all I've ever wanted to do. All I've ever wanted to do is help people. And with speaking, you guys, I was terrified of public speaking. Absolutely terrified. I can remember having to do presentations. It was funny because I can remember doing presentations in school and being so nervous, but I was also really excited because I was excited to be on this. I was excited to be on stage and excited to teach, but I was terrified because I had my little dialogue, all my voices in my head. You can't, you're a loser, you don't have anything to offer, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you guys can fill in the blanks. You've probably had voices too, or you maybe do. And those voices still pop up from time to time, and I usually tell them what I told you all, which is go fuck yourself, or I do something to make myself laugh. But it was really like, I want to help people. You know, one of my goals I have for myself is I wanted to be able to have it said on my tombstone that I was able to positively impact the lives of 2 billion people, billion with a B. And for me to do that, I need to be able to use my voice to access audiences. I need to be able to have discussions like this where I have a large audience, where I'm able to help more people, and then the people I interact with are going to talk to other people. That doesn't happen if I'm hiding behind something and not putting myself out there. So I had to focus on what it is I want and my purpose to be able to put myself out there to do that. I feel that way about finances too. I can't do big things, but I try to do little things to keep me motivated. And you guys, you know what? That's where it starts. Make no mistake. If you look at, I love looking at the Forbes list of the richest people in the world every year. One, it's motivating because, and I don't know what it's like internationally, but in the U.S. it's really sad because we've made wealth such a negative thing. We've made it such a negative thing, and people who have made a lot of money, we make them almost as bad guys. And I personally think it's a political thing. It makes leverage. It creates a divide. We're supposed to be the United States, but we're not united at all. Right? We're broken up in the classes. We're broken up in economics. We're broken up all these things. It's really pathetic. And you know, excuse my political rant, but I think it's our leadership here has been so piss poor that instead of uniting us, they've divided us more and more. And when we look at the Forbes list, I think what we're taught now is to look out there and say, oh, these wealthy people, they should be taking care of everybody else. They should be doing everything else. I look at it and see a list of entrepreneurs, a list of people who, of stories, so many of them were coming from nothing. There are very few people on the list who are actually inherited their wealth. You know, there's a small percentage of them, but most of them, you look at, they started it, they had a dream, they had a crazy dream, and then they wanted to create companies like Microsoft and Apple and Oracle and Virgin and all these things. If you read Richard Branson's autobiography, Losing My Virginity, which I highly encourage you, and those of you who have followed me for a while, you know that he's definitely one of my top 5 for heroes. The guy's dyslexic. He came from very, very humble upbringing, did not have money. He you know, built Virgin in a storage, basically an upstairs attic, because they didn't have money to rent anything else. They were constantly threading the line of going broke and having to close down and everything else, but they pursued a passion because they had a dream. And it started off as just making magazines. And now Virgin's got magazines and clubs and CDs and musicians and spaceships and airplanes. That happened because they had a dream. And they didn't have the money at the time to do that, but they had the belief. Branson had the belief. He had the guts to go after it. And so what he did is he took the little things that he could do now, and he built on that and built on it and built on that. And he didn't know at the time when he was doing his magazines that he wanted to buy an airplane or he wanted to build a spaceship yet. But he kept an open mind and kept building and building and building and building. And he actually talks about when the opportunity to get the plane came along. And he says one of his rules of business is he never goes into anything unless he's going to have a ton of fun doing it. And he thought, oh, the airplane sounds like fun. He doesn't know anything about the airline business, but it sounded like fun. So you guys, the world is made up of dreamers. The most successful people in the world, financially successful, all those things, are dreamers. They're dreamers. There's a story about Jim Carrey, and I'm going to butcher it, but it goes something like this. When Jim Carrey first moved to Hollywood, he went up on top of Mulholland Drive, I believe it was, and he sat up there and he just visualized himself as this great entertainer, and he was going to entertain all these people, and he was broke. And he wrote a check for $20 million because he envisioned being able to be paid that much. What happened is once Jim Carrey built up, he had some really memorable roles. He became one of the most well-known names, and he got paid over $20 million for a movie because he believed he could. He believed he could. Another one that has a great story out there is The Rock. And Rock on social media, he talks about all the time how he moved, he had $7 in his pocket. He pursued wrestling. He got up, he created this persona. The Rock was very close to being cut from wrestling because people just weren't they weren't clicking with him. He changed his character around. He convinced the leader, the guy in there, Vince McMahon, to just give him a chance to try his new character out. And he earned people's love. He earned their admiration. He wasn't all of a sudden this superstar. He had to earn it. He had to earn it because he had a dream. He had a dream, and he was crazy enough to go after it, even though a lot of people told him he couldn't. Okay? So you got to focus on what you can do and build on it. The worst thing you can do for yourself is believe you can't, because you're absolutely right. You won't. You won't. The world is full of dreamers. The most wealthy people, the most successful people are all people who are dreamers. There's very, very few people of the wealthy people who are inherited wealth. I've been very privileged to meet quite a few successful people in my life, and I can tell you this, 97% of them are self-made. They didn't have it handed to them. They didn't win the lottery. They worked their ass off. They had a dream, and they believed in it, and they made it happen for themselves. We have time for about 4 or 5 more questions. And you guys, there's a bunch of you just reading general comments, and I totally appreciate them all. So if I don't read them out loud, it's just for time. But I'm glancing over them, so thank you. Thank you for your kind words. So my dream is to work and live in California, but I'm Polish, and to even get a visa, I need money and an employer, so I'm stuck waiting for opportunity to come up to me. And you're right. If you're stuck and you're waiting, you're going to get that stuck and waiting. You may not have the exact resources and tools right now to make it happen, but there's things you can do right now to make it happen. If you're on the internet, that means you have access to the whole world. There are opportunities. You can create jobs, right? There's jobs that can be done online. There's jobs that you can work anywhere. You can start networking with people right now from all over the world and put your resume out there. Talk about what you do, what your skills are, right? And those things are forward moving. Those aren't stuck things. Those are moving forward things. Those are the ways that you're going to make things happen. That's the going out and buying the lotto ticket versus sitting around and waiting for it to happen, okay? How many books have you written? How do I get one? I've written one so far, and I'm working on my second one. And if you go on to Amazon, you can get on Amazon. Amazon.com. The whole area of life coaching is full of people who all claim that their approach is the most successful and the one who gets the best results. How did you decide for something that is trustworthy? How did you decide for something that is trustworthy? So I'm not quite sure what you mean. But if I were to hazard a guess, I'll tell you this. So I've studied, and I'm starting to study more and more, a lot of the marketing stuff. And a lot of that is just language. People are going to buy what they believe in. And so people are trying to put beliefs out there. And so somebody might have a client that they're successful with, it does well, and that will become the basis of their marketing. They have one client who does really well, and they use language like that. So this person achieved many amazing results. And so their marketing becomes, if you work with me, you're going to achieve amazing results. This client was able to lose 50 pounds, and they're going to say, you work with me, and you can expect weight loss up to 50 pounds. So there's truth in it, but it's a little deceiving. And that's, you guys, and it's just marketing. I want to believe that they're not bad people and there's not bad intention behind it. And it's a competitive world out there. And so people are looking for whatever edge they can find to market out there. I think one of my biggest, and I have a business coach I work with too, and I've talked to him about this. I think one of my biggest if you use the word handicap, which I don't like that because I don't think I have, and I'm glad I've gone the way I have. But one of my biggest handicaps that I've put on myself in my own career growth is I haven't pushed marketing as much as I should. I haven't marketed myself as well. I've kind of relied on things to be organic, but part of organic can be me putting myself out there more, sharing more of what I have to offer to the world. And so you got to take things with a grain of salt. I think the best thing you can do when you're looking at working with any professional is ask your friends, ask family members if they have. Try to get to know the person, do your research, do your homework, and see if they're gonna back up, if they're gonna walk the walk that they talk the talk. I think that looks like, if you guys have one more question, we have time for that. And then while you guys are typing that last question, I'll just wrap it up. A couple of housekeeping things. I've gotten quite a few emails about the Zero Limits Mastermind that's going to happen next year. You guys, I don't want to share everything right now because I'm still putting the final things, but this is going to be a super cool program. It's going to be a year-long program, so we're going to run from January 1st, 2015 till December 31st, 2015. So those of you who are really, 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 really committed to making 2015 the best year ever, and not just saying, but actually living it, this is going to be a program for you. It's going to be a year-long mentorship. It's going to be a group of people. We're all working together, and we're just going to make things happen. We'll have regular conference calls, regular chats like this. There'll be a lot of interaction with me, and as part of this thing, which I'm super stoked, and you guys are actually the first ones I've shared this with, the people who are members of this will get 2 tickets to my first live event, which I'll be holding next year. The date's not set yet, but you'll get 2 live events, one for yourself and one to bring your friend. And I'm really, really stoked to do this. The date's still working out, but it will be sometime in the late summer, early fall. And yeah, there is going to be more details that are going to come up. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that because so many of you have been emailing me about it. I see we have our last question, which is, which place are you going in your next trip? My next trip is actually going to be to Newport Beach, California, which I'm leaving for this weekend. And it's going to be to go to this 2-week-long seminar. So it's not going to be really a traveling trip or anything. It's going to be a work. And I'm going to be in a classroom from, I think, about 8 or 9 in the morning every day until about 8 or 9 at night. But it's a really fun field. I really enjoy. I think it helps me as a person. It helps me professionally. And what I'm going to learn is going to be stuff I can share with you all and just help me do what I do even more effectively. That'll be my next trip. Okay, guys. Hey, awesome time tonight. Again, I'm really, really apologize about the internet stuff, technology. And thank you, everybody, for sticking with me and hanging out and riding the tide with it. You guys had some awesome questions tonight. You guys were an amazing audience. And thank you so much for spending your time with me. I know a lot of you had to get up really early. A lot of you had to stay up really late. So for those of you who are international, again, I really appreciate you making the time. You guys have to make a little bit extra effort than we do in the States. You know, for the next one, we'll try to do it on a weekend so it's more accessible to you guys. And we will do another one of these in the next month or so. So, and I'm going to start doing that. I like having you guys vote on it because I want to provide stuff that's relevant to you. I want to know what you guys are thinking about, what's going to help you. So, when I post Nick's YouTube chat, please leave your suggestions, please comment. Please, you guys, please do that, and please vote, because I really, really sincerely want to deliver stuff that's relevant to you, that's on your mind. Otherwise, it's just me coming up and saying, well, I think this is important, I think that's important. I want to know what's important to you so I can provide that for you guys, okay? So you guys, thank you so much. You were an amazing audience, and I hope you all have a great night, great day, great whatever, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Stop the broadcast.